What's up, Squadron 7? Welcome back to another video. So there's this tweet that's going around. It's making its rounds with the negative or the toxic Star Wars community here on YouTube that is largely overreacting to it. And I felt it necessary. I think we felt it necessary to kind of clarify a few things, read the actual quote, but we're also going to go in and actually see the full quote. But
so the tweet says the Acolyte's writer room included a writer who had never watched Star Wars, reveals showrunner Leslye Headland. We would kind of talk to her and say, if we take all the Star Wars signifiers out of it, what does it mean to you? And a lot of people ran off with this of like they don't even know what Star Wars is, and they're writing, and you're like, that's not what it says.
Yeah,
that's not what it says.
A couple of reactions I saw out there saying, Disney Lucasfilm doesn't know what it's doing, and this is like proof of it, and largely taking the tweet not necessarily out of context, but completely misunderstanding the tweet itself. And we are going to go, because since they provided the full quote to the full whatever Leslye Headland was talking about in this interview. First of all, I really wanted people that were different than me. I certainly didn't want a room full of people that were just agreeing with me vehemently, not ideologically, but artistically, people that kind of had different writing styles and were interested in different things. Here's some great background about the person that she hired that she mentions has never seen Star Wars. She says, I have never seen any of them. I've never seen any Star Wars media. And then she goes on to kind of say, we took out all the Star Wars. If we took out Luke and Leia, we took out all the Easter eggs. What does the story say?
Well, first of all, you don't want something that's just fan service.
Yes.
I'm looking at the Bad Batch, and I know people that the Bad Batch is their very first Star Wars that they're consuming. Everyone finds it at a different time, and it's absolutely necessary for writers' rooms to have a perspective other than your own. So doing it like this, there are going to be certain things, certain just natural assumptions that those of us that grew up with it, I came into Star Wars just before the re-releases. My headcanon is prior to the prequels. I live in a different Star Wars universe than those who grew up with 6 movies or those who's going to grow up with 9 movies. It's nice to get a perspective of someone who this may be someone's entry point, and they want to make sure that this actually makes sense as a story.
Yes.
As well as a Star Wars story.
And that's where it all comes down to. Basically, from a writer's perspective, I'm writing something right now where I always send it to someone who doesn't know who Star Wars is, just to make sure that it makes sense, just narratively. But it's always good to have someone with an unbiased and unfettered opinion. Someone who isn't like she says here, she wanted an active conversation between my writers and myself, and not so much a room full of people that would kind of automatically agree with what I say, which is good sometimes. And she's right. You want the story to kind of stand on its own, right? And then, of course, without so much as going into this full link and reacting to that tweet, they miss how she professed her deep knowledge of the franchise, how she's a diehard and cutthroat fan, and she's the executive producer. So that's one thing that we wanted to clarify as well about this tweet, is that it's one writer in the writer's room. Guys, it's not the whole writer's room. Like, Lucasfilm isn't going to hire for their next 10 Star Wars projects on Disney Plus and all of their EPs, all of their writers and their producers and their gaffers and the crew. They're not going to be Star Trek fans. They're going to be people who know and love and have worked on Star Wars before.
I mean, in the actual interview, and it's funny because it's actually a really long interview with the AV Club.
Yeah.
And I just read all of it. And this is one paragraph out of this giant thing where she's talking about how she found Star Wars also prior to them being re-released, and how as a teenager she was reading all of the books, and how much time that she's spent you know, in just in the Star Wars, you know, creation and on Star Wars social media, contributing, you know, and all this stuff, how like in depth she is. It's a very long interview. Definitely check it out at the AV Club to take this really long interview and then boil it down to one paragraph, partially remove all the other stuff. It's just, I don't know. It's just feels toxic.
It definitely feels, and most likely is, you know, and this is a great kind of paragraph to sum it all up. Like, as diehard and a cutthroat fan as she is, it means hiring people that are not necessarily the diehard cutthroat fan that she is when it comes to Star Wars. Like the person that's going to be like, well, in 325B, that's kind of like us. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? Hold on, I'll send you a link. And everyone's like, should that be another person that's doing that? Why is the showrunner doing that? And I'm like, here's a picture. This is what he looks like. And yeah, it's all just like getting bogged down by the details.
I mean, if me and you were writing something Star Wars, like, and we are so far down in the weeds that even the vernacular is not going to be easily accessible to someone new who's coming in. So yeah, it makes sense to have someone where like they could read something and, you know, like you say, you know, to the menace, and of course I know what you're talking about. But imagine like a regular person, you know, it's funny to me that people really ran away with this small thing because it's a good thing. This is actually what Star Wars needs to grow and continue to expand. Yeah.
So when you're in a writer's room, you're going to expect a lot of perspective, a lot of different writing styles, a lot of different story and narrative beats that other people want to hit, you know. It's kind of like that old adage, like you can't write for everybody, and that's why you have everybody in the writer's room, but you can't have everybody in the writer's room, which is like a blessing and a curse in and of itself. But yeah, guys, this is like a teachable moment for you. If you ever find these tweets again and it kind of like, you know, makes you, I guess, do a double take, the best thing you could possibly do is, first of all, just read this quote and then go to the full quote, because it's never the full story.
It's clickbait. It's clickbait. And whether or not the people writing it meant it to have a toxic narrative, they knew that people would get excited and they would get more views on it if they did. Hell, I know what they're talking about just from looking at the title, but I clicked on it just so I can read the whole thing because of all of this hullabaloo. So it's a real thing.
So yeah, there's nothing wrong here. The writer's room is in good hands. Leslye Headland is a diehard fan. And I'm pretty sure every other writer in there, including how they have to work with the story group as well, to make sure things are in canon. It's in good hands. The show is not going to go down. The show is definitely not being run by that one person that has never seen Star Wars. So I think it's okay. We don't need to, you know, we don't need to worry about this. The Acolyte is going to be one heck of a show, and we're both excited for it. But
very much so.
But yeah, that'll end this video. On to the next one.
For light and life,
we are all the Republic.
And may the Force be with you.